everybody! I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. We're calling in from San Francisco, California. I'm here with my good friend and amazing community member, Joshwin. And we're so happy to be here today with you guys because we have a very, very important message to share. I don't know if you guys know this, but basically in the last few months, like Code3 has been going through like some significant like brainstorming, I think they call it that, and preparations for some really important changes for our future. Because we have so many creatives coming into the door that want to build out their passion projects and want to contribute to something greater than themselves and want to really find fulfillment in the things that they're doing. And obviously we at Code3 just want to do our best to support these endeavors and want to see how we can help these, aspiring creatives and really entrepreneurs, right? I like to say, build a sustainable business for themselves that helps them, create a future where, the world bosses, the things that they see that are in need to be solved in the world can actually be solved, and we can come at it together and we can support each other through, collaborative efforts. So I think like maybe we can start off, Joshua, maybe you can introduce yourself, right, for people who don't know you. I assume you're very famous in the community, but many people who are brand new to our stream might not know you yet. But maybe just introduce yourself and maybe talk a bit about how your journey was in, joining Code3. And on top of that, maybe like, what are your creative aspirations that, you'd like us to learn about and share in today's conversation?
I see. Okay, so my name is Joshwin Green. So I work as a software developer at Bitwise Industries in California. And let me think about this. And also I'm a moderator in the community. So I joined when we were like, I guess when the community was actually on the Mighty Networks platform, and then I came over to then I come over to like Gilded and everything, and I think you were something like 2 years at this point in time.
Oh yeah, we were like 2 years in at Gilded. Yeah.
Okay. So 2 years in, and then I think the main way I started to contribute was via the Make It Fun app and everything. Contributed a lot there, dailies feature, parties, and that was really fun. And then...
just for context, sorry, for those who don't know, the Microfine app is basically an app that gamifies any Notion database. So you just plug it in, and immediately anything that you do in Notion, whether it be you read a book, you finish a task, you went on a trip, those are all counted as wins, and you get to learn EXP and gold. Yeah.
Yep, and then, and I guess in support of that, also, I was really kind of like big into Obsidian. It seemed like this community is really all about Obsidian. And then I helped, there was a competition about like, for various plugins and themes and everything. So, oh, hey, let's go ahead and gamify that experience possibly, or at least make in the success plan into Obsidian. And so I worked on a plugin and everything, I guess competed with it in this competition and everything, and that was fun as well. And then eventually, now we're working on this digital gardening endeavor, and oh my God, that's just I love where it's going. But that's a bit about me, and and I guess my pursuits. Like one big thing as a software developer, one big passion of mine is that I want to make a positive impact on society using software, and like I'm all about making an impact. And I think digital gardening, and also just like this community itself, and like collaboration. Also, when we talk about the life point system and everything like that, and how people could possibly like earn from their contributions and stuff like that, there's a lot there, and I feel like we can help the world at large in terms of, I guess, if they're interested in these skills, we can give them projects that they can build these skills on, and also earn from them as well. But yeah, that's my answer to your question.
Yeah, well, thank you, Joshua, for such an amazing, comprehensive answer. I do remember like it was yesterday when you first joined us and, started slowly getting more and more active in the community. I think like it wasn't until we really had these big projects like the Make Work Fun app and everything that it really started bringing out a lot of people into the fray and say, hey, I want to participate in this, right? Yourself, I think if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the drive and the push to really get these people together and start building the Make Work Fun app. And I really appreciate you for that. All the efforts that you did to get so many parts of the app working, right? Because I didn't go in with a lot of experience, and I was thankful to have you as a very experienced guide on my journey. And I think like, we're going to talk about a lot of concepts here, and hopefully they'll all make sense to you dear viewer, right, in the very near future. But basically, the gist of today's live stream is going to be this. This is our first time doing like a podcast style, right? Usually we're, sitting in front of a computer, presenting something on our screens. We still present something small later in this live stream. But I think the idea is that I want to have a very frank and open discussion about, what is the future of collaborative work, right? Because I think that a lot of people are now getting disillusioned with the whole idea of working for a company, right? Because you end up building on this vision and on this product that isn't really yours to own, right? Of course, you can have equity in a business, but I mean, unfortunately, if you're in tech, your equity is really going down the drain right now, and so that's a bit laughable, but or sad rather. But the thing is, like, how do we help, creatives really find their passion and be able to pursue it in a meaningful way, and also find the support in a community that cares about helping you do your best work, plus giving you the resources and tools in order to build the thing, from 0 to 1. I think something that I've been very privileged to have as an opportunity was to, build my own company, right? And I think that process has taught me so much about the joys of doing something, and also like that, and also the sadness of doing something like that, especially when you don't have the right resources supporting you. And again, I was very lucky to eventually stumble upon certain resources that helped me excel later on. But I do think that there's a lot of learning lessons there that, myself, as well as many, many other experienced people in the community, can provide for different aspiring individuals. So I think what we're going to be talking about today is going to be a few things, right? We're going to talk about the specific ways that we want to try and support creatives. But before that, let's talk about the things that we want to make sure we're protecting creatives from. Because when you're just brand new starting out and you want to work on something, there's so many fears that you might have, right? And let's tackle each and every one of them ideally. And maybe we can even come from your perspective now that we have this really amazing initiative that Joshwin is really like the pioneer and the ringmaster. I don't know what the word could be, like the
visionary.
The visionary for, right? Maybe firstly, explain maybe what it is from your own words, and also like what your challenges would be when you're thinking about it from the creative angle. Like how would you like to be protected? Yeah.
I see. Okay, so for those that don't know about our digital gardening endeavor, so one big thing so there's the term digital garden. So that's like a new form of blogging. Like the thing about like blogging right now is like it's very performative. You put in all this work. I remember like writing this article. Maybe like I said I was gonna like maybe like do it in a week, whatever it is, or maybe 2 weeks. So that took possibly 4 or 5 weeks. And like I did all this work and everything, and then it's like, okay, are we good to go? And I published it essentially. It's like everyone has jobs, and I wrote that article when I didn't have a job, when I was looking for work. If I actually had a job, that likely would have taken me far longer to complete. Digital gardening is like, if you have an idea as to what you want that article to be, you can jot out like maybe a sentence or a paragraph, and then you can publish it. And then there are different growth stages. And so, for example, like at first, and then there are growth stages that are popularized by, for example, Maggie Appleton. So she's really big in digital gardening, or an evangelist. And like she has these 3 stages, like seedling, budding, and evergreen. And like for the very like crux of an article, that you would publish it as a seedling. And then as you add on, there are specific thresholds where you basically can move it to budding and also to evergreen, and so on and so forth. And so that's really what digital gardening is. And we want to be able to offer or have a digital garden for co-create itself. So we have a lot of knowledge to offer, especially with how we, how can I say, I would say we're very organized individuals. We're all growth-minded and blah, blah. And we want to be able to spread this with the world. And we're going to do that via digital gardening. But the nice thing is that we're going to people will be able to collaborate on these pieces and everything. And so that'll be the co-create digital garden. But also we want to do like a platform as well. It's like, why not allow everyone to be able to have their own digital garden, and also allowing other organizations to be able to have their own digital garden and a collaborative digital garden, and so on and so forth. And in regards to this protection, is like, well, now we're getting into like, hey, software is IP. And also the thing is that, or intellectual property. And we also want to be able to, like, with this like life points system, we have this kind of fundraising kind of mechanism. That's kind of like Kickstarter, but the difference is that instead of you donating essentially and then getting, let's say, a product at the end of the Kickstarter, the idea is that you can donate, but then, hey, it's like if you have the skills, like a design or develop, you can actually join us. And then like these like funds will be dispersed to those that help to basically develop that product or that update to a given product. And so now we have the money aspect. And so now we're dealing with some really big things and really and I guess we have to protect the IP. We also have to protect this money and everything, just to make sure everything is used properly and so on. And so my whole thing is that we need to make sure that we protect this money so that it's basically used in the correct way and everything. And then also we need to protect the IP, and so that these these developers, designers, and other creators don't feel like they're being taken advantage of. And then I guess another goal would be like we need to have like basically bylaws essentially that would be able to hold basically everyone in an organization, especially the board and staff, essentially legally accountable in the event that someone does something in counter to those first two goals. And so that's what I would say. Those first two goals are like what we need to protect and very seriously consider ways to make sure we do this all properly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua, for breaking that down. And I think that, if I could also perhaps maybe just like focus on a few points there. I think the first thing is like just maybe I want to throw an analogy for people to help understand digital gardening a bit better. Like basically, like it's collaborative knowledge building at scale. So any idea that you've ever had, any thought that you've ever had, imagine you can just start that thought and someone else can continue that sentence for you and continue that paragraph for you. And then eventually build that into an article. And then you can add on to that. And then eventually we have all these like first principles that are in our minds, right? But then laid out beautifully for us to all learn from and grow on with each other. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea and a great way to really build out the knowledge part of our community. I think one strong thing is that there's so much knowledge out there, but there's not really a crystalline way of like seeing like, your own knowledge bloom, right? And I think digital gardening helps with that because like Joshua mentioned, like you can go bit by bit. You don't have to publish the whole damn thing from day one. You can publish the notes first and then you publish like series of notes and then eventually they become a big article. But while they're in that infantile state, they're susceptible to new ideas and they're susceptible to, new ways of thinking and that's what makes it better and stronger. And then I think the next thing to talk about, which is the whole like life point system. And again, I think maybe for people who are not so familiar with our community, it's the first time you're hearing about this, right? Or even if you are familiar, this is something that we've introduced in the community very recently. Basically, the idea is that, there's a lot of different avenues that our community would love us to, work on and build. There's so many new features for the Make for Fun app that people still want. There's so many new features for new systems, like new systems for a toolbox, right? New Notion templates and even templates for Airtable and for other tools, right? There's so much, enjoyment and excitement for that. More community spaces, more events. So there's a lot of really cool initiatives that we wish we could spend our time on. But we need help, right? We're not going to be able to do it all by ourselves. And for the most part, Coaster is really on a volunteer basis. Like we're all here just because we want to support the community and we want to help each other grow and learn. So we came up with this idea of like life points, right? And the life points is basically a way for us to start, really helping people figure out which different projects they really want to support and which specific features and development that they want to see and be able to contribute towards that in the form of life points. And life points basically it's going to be like a way that a point system within the community that helps us keep track of, how we're giving back to each other. How are we being givers in the community? How we're supporting each other? And obviously the easiest and most obvious way of getting life points is, contributing community projects, right? Helping out on these missions. So basically people will set up these world bosses and offer up rewards for saying, hey, like I'm willing to contribute, $100, right? For anyone who's going to help develop these kind of features. Maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's more, right? Depending on how complicated the feature is. But it gives the individuals, and everyone in the community a chance to come in and support, really features that they love and they want to see themselves as well, but also get incentivized for it by seeing that, hey, I'm going to be rewarded in a way that, proves or at least confirms that I've done something very positive for the community, that will help it grow beyond just myself. And hopefully that gives some fulfillment to the people involved as well. So when Joshua talks about, the ways of protection, like obviously the first thing is like, hey, if I'm working on technology, how is my IP protected? How do I know that no random person is just going to take this code and use it for different reasons, nefarious or not? But actually it's working towards a purpose of what I initially intended it to do, which was for the community and for the benefit of the community members. The second thing is like, now that we're raising funds, now that there is a certain, money component of the community, of course that can get sensitive, and of course that needs to be properly protected. And how do we do that, right? So I think Joshua and I have, really brainstormed over the past few weeks to months, and really now meeting in face to face, we're able to really hash everything together, which I love. Just to come up with like a proper governance structure that will help make sure that people's rights are protected, people's time and resources are protected, right? Money, and also make sure that the most optimal outcomes and benefits are there for the individuals. So maybe Joshua, like let's have a discussion on this. Like, what do you think you'll benefit from by building this project with CoX3 versus doing it alone? Like, why should creators be incentivized to do it together with the community? I think I have a few points to think about that. I think you have a few points as well. Would just love to hear your thoughts.
I think one big reason is contributors, essentially, because like people have like responsibilities. They have their full-time job and everything. They may have this like great idea, but then it takes ages essentially to complete it. Especially think of like indie game developers, essentially. But let's focus on like, let's say productivity like solutions, productivity solutions, and let me think about that for a second. And with this life point system and with like these raids, and so we have like world bosses, which are like a given endeavor. So let's say that's the digital growing endeavor. Like raids are like a short, like a time limited like milestone essentially for a given world boss, and then that will be connected with the life point system, and it's just gonna be great to be able to like, yeah, you may be this visionary for that project, but at least with CoX3, then at least you have these participants who let's say probably also maybe believe in what you're building, and then they help you out. But the good thing also is that everyone can essentially earn from their contributions. You see a lot of these like every now and then on product hunts, these like collaborative kind of platforms that never get off the ground. I think it's because like the optics, or rather like the protection side of it. I feel like everyone in the back of their minds knows that like, well, how do we know that this is actually worthwhile? How's the legal side of it and everything? And like, if we can like, I guess, answer that protection side of things, then I feel like that will give people a reason to become a part of these projects and contribute. And I feel like the contributor angle is one main reason why I'm working through CoX3 to make like the digital gardening endeavor a reality, but also why I personally are contributing to Make Work Fun and possibly other things in the future. But do you want to take it away for other reasons why?
Yeah, I think that's a great reason, because I would see it as this way, like, what does it take to take a project off the ground? I think that's my first question I would ask, right? And, fundamentally, you would need people, right, resources-wise. You need time, which not everyone has, right? And you actually need a very healthy dose of like community to support you and say like, hey, this is a good idea, go for it, right? And some encouragement, but also some fresh ideas. Because I think when we start thinking of ideas in isolation, we end up losing some of the real juice that comes out from collaborative thinking. I think one thing that's really supported me, like you can consider me as part of the collective, right? Like I've built a lot of our Notion templates through, being part of the community and building it together with everyone. And I think it wouldn't even be like half of what it is if I didn't have constant feedback throughout the process. I've been very lucky to be able to build out loud, right? Build in public, so that every time I made a move, I got feedback. Sometimes it was good feedback, right? Oh, good job, you're doing the right thing. Sometimes it was bad feedback. Hey, you could do this better, right? You can improve on this part. And both things are super important, especially the latter in product building, because if you don't get corrections or you don't really move towards what people really want, unfortunately, you might not ever build something that people really would adopt. So one thing that I think I'm very excited by is that the community is always so eager to help, right? And they're eager to help, really push forward any project that it looks to have some sort of positive impact on the world. And everyone's very eager to be part of that collaborative building process, whether they're supporting it financially, right? Whether they're supporting it through their time and efforts by testing it, whether they're supporting through their efforts by actually building on it, right? There's a lot of ways that, having access to community can help. On top of that, I think like tooling is important too, because there's like a whole like economies of scale now that we have so many different projects ongoing. We have the right sponsorships, I think, with the right partners that help us build products from 0 to 1 very, very quickly. Again, I think any individual trying to build certain things may find it difficult to think about the upfront investment it might cost to have like a server up and going, to have different tooling to do their project management, to XYZ, a myriad of different things that you need to actually get a project up and going, which then burdens the creative and makes them not want to do it to begin with, right? Which I think is a shame, because there's so many wonderful ideas out there. Why don't we just try them, right? And I think that's also, the last thing I think is expertise. I think we have a lot of people in the community that have a lot of good expertise in building from 0 to 1 and then scaling from 1 to 100. So I think like with that perspective, there's just a lot of really important bits that at least take the probability of your side projects or your passion projects succeeding like away from a very low percentile to a much higher one. But again, I believe in everybody. I think everyone can do what they can do. We're just trying to make it easier for you to do what you're meant to do. And I think that's something that's very beautiful and very poetic in that. Yeah. So I guess like my next question for you, Joshwin, is like, what are some like if we could envision like a beautiful future for Coix3, like what does that vision look like? And maybe I'll compare mine as well. I have some like really cool ideas, but I'm just curious, like where's your thought pattern going when you see Coix3 in 2023?
I feel like Coix3 could basically become the next Mozilla, like a technological nonprofit that's essentially like a powerhouse. But this is like in the vein of collaborative work. And honestly, I feel like we have these like kind of like small meetings. Essentially, we have our like world boss meetings. Eventually, it'd be nice to have like Coix3 retreats. Like this is the community side thing, but also like, oh my God, can we have like conferences, please? Maybe like talks on like growth mindedness, maybe like just product like updates or whatever it is. Just people, just like. Oh my God, I would love that. But in terms of this collaborative nature, this collaborative like organization is just like, this gives people like, especially people in, I guess, with developers and designers, this just gives people more ways to continue to refine their skills. Like even with this digital gardening project, there's certain like database related, I guess, techniques that this has allowed me to continue to like harden my like expertise basically, and using it for different purposes basically. I guess as always, practice makes perfect, right? And I see like a pristine future of what Coix3 could be, especially with this like collaborative vein and everything like that. And honestly, it's like, hey, it's like kind of like, since a part of our community is like gamification and everything like that, it's like this is like, for me, like the MMO or massive multiplayer online game that actually matters. It's like build leadership, build skills, like build friendships, build relationships. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think with that, I have something to present. I think I presented this to you guys like a while back, which is the brand guide for Coix3. And I think that's like maybe demeaning a bit what it is. It's actually like the story of us, right? Like if I wanted to tell anybody, a partner, a sponsor, a community member, like what are we and why are we? This is like the kind of document I'll refer anyone to. But I wanted to kind of talk about it on stream maybe, and share a bit of that, because I think that document or that series of questioning that I went through to build out those answers is really the foundation of, I think, what will lead to that beautiful future that Joshua is describing and what I truly believe in as well. So let me go and grab that because I think that's pretty important. So I'm going to just switch over to my screen. Hopefully everyone can still hear and see. So basically, what is our story? So the way I think about it is, and let me actually like zoom in a bit so everyone can read properly and just make sure I'm not covering it with our camera. Yeah, so who are we, right? So I think the vision statement for us is we want to build a global self-actualized community of co-creators and collaborators, tackling global challenges and unleashing breakthroughs together. I think every single word there is like pretty important, I'd say. And by the way, Josh, feel free to interrupt anytime if you feel something like it's really important to you to say. But like, yeah, like this is like a very powerful vision. And I think as visions go, like they should be, forward thinking and also just really descriptive of, what we think the end outcome looks like. But our mission really, our day-to-day mission is to really equip creative students and second winders with the knowledge to level up every day, tools to put their learning to action, and a community to never struggle alone. I think all those three things are super important. Like if you have knowledge, then you can learn new things as fast as you can. But knowledge doesn't mean anything if you don't put them into action. So you need tools, right, to translate that knowledge into something actionable. And then finally, like if you can't do it alone. You have to have people to support you and have to have, friends on your side as you're going through this journey. Every adventurer needs their party, and this is the way that we can help people, support them on their way to their success that they're looking for. So I guess like just a quick about us. Again, if you just want to know more about us, like I think my general pitch would be like CoX3 stands for co-creation, collaboration, community. We're an inclusive group of like-minded forward thinkers that want to affect positive change in the world. We are creatives, students, and second winders passionate about tackling global challenges and unleashing breakthroughs. And we love to share and co-create with our community whenever we come up with cool new ways to solve everyday challenges. So yeah, I think that's been our stance since day one. And I'm glad that hasn't changed because it means we're consistent and we're persistent with our goals. And yeah, I think like one really cool thing that you guys may have not seen before is like our problem statements that I thought it would be very important to really clarify and to really hammer down. And I think this is an open discussion too. Like I think these can always be tweaked because I think there's a series of problems that are important to solve that I haven't seen anyone solve successfully yet, and a series of solutions that I think would be, very reasonable to get us closer to the finish line. So maybe, Joshua, do you want to read the first problem? I know it's a bit small for our screen, but can you see that?
Yeah, so let's see. We all are constantly learning more about the world and often only get to share our findings with our immediate friends and family. Where still, most information is communicated via analogies, and distilling down to first principles is difficult and uncommon.
Yeah, so I think, that rings very true to me because like before I did this whole like CoX3 thing and before, we had this community share these thoughts and ideas with, my friends and family had to be the one to listen to all this. And again, I think I was the right thing they needed to hear at some opportune times, but not always, right? You see, and I also didn't get the feedback that I needed to really advance my learning and my growth as well. I think when you're in a close circle of just your family and friends, you end up only being able to tackle the immediate challenges that you guys are facing at the given moment. And you might not even have all the expertise that is needed to learn more and understand more about the challenge. So I think like if we're able to, I think that's like a huge problem, right? Well, that's not about solutions just yet, but and we're still like, have you ever had the experience of like you're talking to your parents about a problem and they start going, well, back in my day, and they start going down this like analogy about their life, which you don't fully understand because things have changed. And you don't know how much it applies to your life because, again, things have changed, right? So what do you do in those situations? Again, that's a big problem statement number one. Do you want to read problem statement, or do you agree first of that problem statement? And if you do, you can move on to problem number two as well.
Yeah, I think problem saying makes makes a lot of sense. And like if anything, like my father, like he's always like listening in on my like thoughts about various things and everything, and maybe like new ideas and stuff like that. But hey, he doesn't know everything. No one knows everything, and it's always nice to have a bigger sounding board. And for me, like Coex Street is that sounding board a lot of times with, like, for example, the digital gardening endeavor. So I agree with the first problem.
Yeah, and I guess since we're talking about solutions anyways, let's just go 1-1, right? So yeah, you can go ahead.
I guess for our solutions, the first one, we create applications that make it easy to distill knowledge into first principles, building and sharing on what we know in a collaborative fashion.
Yeah. So I think that can obviously, like, these sentences can obviously continue to be refined, but I think the general gist is like, things can be collaborative. Why are we learning in silos? Doesn't make any sense. One beautiful analogy I always think about, like when I'm, imagining the future of Coex3 is like, back in the olden Greek days when there were philosophers roaming the streets and talking in plazas and just sharing what they know and philosophizing what they think they know and debating, with different people around. I think that's wonderful because there's an open forum of new ideas and potentially, getting the feedback of everyone around you will help you learn and grow like 10x faster, like no doubts. If you're just talking to yourself in your echo chamber, like, oh my God, like you're not growing, you're not learning, you're hearing yourself talk and maybe it sounds pretty to you, but it's not going anywhere more than that. So I think getting that kind of like collaborative feeling is super nice, but also like having this framework to help you distill all these big ideas and these big concepts that you have into something fundamental and tangible. I think that's super powerful, and yeah, it can't be understated. So if you want, like, problem number 2.
Okay. Knowledge today is ubiquitous, but there is not enough education on how to make things you learn useful in your life. You can Google anything, but most results will focus on what to do.
Yeah, I guess I think that is instead of why, right? So like, yeah, I mean, I think we touched on this before. It was like we all learn all these things through school, through podcasts, through books. There's so many different things out there that, we read once and then we forget, honestly speaking, because we don't have any real application for that. And that's a shame, right? Like imagine if you retained, I'm not even going to say 90%, I'm going to say 80%. Hey, imagine retaining 50% of everything you read every day. How much more informed do you think you would be about the world? How much smarter do you think you'd be, and how much more equipped do you think you'd be to tackle everyday challenges? I dare say a lot, right? I challenge everyone to try right now to think about things that they've encountered, learning opportunities that they've encountered just throughout today, right? And it's pretty early for people in the East and in the West. It's probably your end of your day, but just think about today, just today. 5 learning moments. Try to think about that, and see how many of those learning moments you actually remember, like very clearly. It's very difficult for any of us to reasonably say we remember 3 out of 5, let alone 4, let alone 5 out of 5. And again, those are opportunities that you're missing out to really advance your knowledge and advance your understanding of the world. And yeah, so like maybe for me to like add this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like my take on this is that we can create systems that transform understanding of fundamental principles into actionable steps so that everyone can make their learning actionable in your life through systems. So we've taken on the adventure, right, of turning all of the things that we've learned and distilling them down as simple as possible into action steps that you can follow through a system. And our hope is that as you continue doing these action steps, these first principles get ingrained in your actions and end up being part of your everyday life and being part of the process of which you live your life by. So a good example is like, building better habits, right? Again, we've all read like James Clear, Atomic Habits, or, Tiny Habits by BJ Fobbs, I believe. And there's so many different other books out there that pretty much say similar things in different packaging. But do you know how to build better habits? Do you know exactly how to do that? Are you able to consistently build better habits every single time that you embark on a new habit building journey? Again, if you're being honest, probably the answer is no. myself included, to be very clear. But if I follow a system, right, and I have a structure in which I go about every new habit that I build, a workflow that I have, right, then it gets infinitely easier. I don't even remember the steps. I just plug it in, and then I'll be able to reasonably achieve my goals. So I think that's super important. Like when you systematize things in your life, it makes it so that you reduce the brain power needed to memorize all the individual nitty-gritty steps, and instead you reap the benefits of the outcome that you get at the end of the day. So I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. Like if anything, like one of the systems that I really like is like the success plan. It's like that's just like my like cornerstone. Like it's like every now and then like I like may explore like a new tool, and like oftentimes I want to like bake in that system into it. And for reference, like the success plan is like you mainly have like 4 different items. You have like tasks, you have projects, you have key results, and goals. It's like it makes complete sense. And how I essentially, and it just allows me to like, allows me to make progress on the various goals of my life. And I guess I feel like the more systems that you basically build into your life, the better. And I think I've read a number of articles or like tweets basically that support that claim. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And again, I think it's like, with experiences like this that make us really feel proud of what we're doing here in the community, is that we know that there's tangible benefits to, embarking on these systems, and seeing the change that happens in each individual is amazing to us to see, I think. Yeah. Do you want to go for the last problem?
Sure. As we strive towards self-actualization on our growth journeys, we can sometimes get stuck and demotivated. It may feel like nobody understands our weekly war, and every day seems like a constant battle.
Yeah. Do you have any experience with that? Like anything that, you want to share about that problem?
Sure. Like in some ways, like I feel like with life to a certain extent, you could think about it as just an endless list of intentions, basically. But the nice thing is that like, the thing is, you want to make this like life of yours enjoyable, and like you want to remember like key points of it, like even like this like meeting and everything. It's like it's going into my digital draft, digital scrapbook basically, and so it's nice to I guess be able to like make use of tools that are offered by the community, and being able to like create solutions for those thoughts or those issues essentially. But also it's nice to have a community or a tribe that I can basically voice how my I guess weekly war is going, or how I'm doing essentially, and get advice on like how I could do things differently or what have you, and also be able to offer advice to other people as well. But I feel like if more people had that, I feel like honestly, everyone would enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I think that's beautiful. And like, I think, you're one of our most consistent members in our Sunday Council meeting, which, as Joshwin just mentioned, like it's a way for us to get together every week and share about how our week is going, the good, the bad, right? But also find ways to be helpful for each other. I got the idea actually from a book from, called Givers and Takers. And it was a wonderful book because it mentioned this idea of a reciprocity ring. The practice was a little bit different than what we practice today, but basically the idea was that you bring together people to find opportunities to give to another, right? And find opportunities for givers to give. And I always thought that was such a big idea, because every day, like, we're going through our lives. We go to work, we do our jobs, we go home, we do grocery shopping, we maybe play some games, we eat dinner, we go to bed, and the cycle repeats again and again. It's sometimes very easy to fall in the trap of, just living for the sake of living, and you lose the sense of community. You lose the sense of like, hey, I'm doing something for the world, and I'm doing something for other people, beside this monotonous like kind of grind that I'm doing. And it's easy to feel very lonely, right? Even if you're surrounded by friends and family. So I think one thing we're trying to do to tackle that is like, how do we make more meaningful interactions happen how to make them happen in a way that gives people opportunities to also, find fulfillment, right? So I think, Joshua, what you mentioned just now is very powerful because, again, we see you every week in the Sunday Council meetings, and it's amazing to see because I think that there's a certain, there's something that we all gain from being part of that experience, and it's a power of we. And on top of that, it's really the understanding that, like, hey, we're not alone in this, right? People care about our successes. People care about our failures, things we could do better. People can learn from them too, right? And we can learn from others people's failures. Most importantly, we can find ways to support one another. And I just think there's no better practice than that, honestly speaking. And yeah, like, again, such a big problem. I feel that there's so many people I've talked to that, like, have just given me such bleak, dreary depictions of what day-to-day life looks like for them, and I just don't think that has to be the case. Yeah, I don't know, like, out of your friend group, perhaps, like, or maybe people that acquaintances, whatever, like, how many do you feel like, I guess, like, maybe it's a wrong question, but sometimes when you talk to certain people, like, you notice that, like, they're just very lonely, and nobody has really heard them out. And the moment you ask them, like, hey, how can I be helpful, like, their whole world changes. You can see on their face. And I don't know, like, do you see that a lot of people in your life, like, have that opportunity to have those kind of interactions? Like, is this a problem you see around you?
I think to a certain extent, like with social media, I think there has been studies that, like, with the rise of social media, more people are lonely. And also it seemed like people are, especially younger people, are needed this like self-fulfillment from other people, like liking their posts and stuff like that. But that's like dopamine and all that stuff. But like, I feel like there is like a scourge, like in terms of like, a lot of men are lonely essentially. And I feel like, hey, it's like, if anything, women, you have your girlfriends, it's like, that's a great resource, okay? Men, it's like, we don't do that, okay? Or not as often. And if anything, having like a community of peers essentially is great for men, but also for women. And yeah, with social media and everything, I feel like this is actually, we have a lot of meaningful conversations essentially. I wonder how, like, with your friends and everything, you may like, I think with me, I may like hang out with my high school friends maybe every 2 quarters, whatever it is. But even then, it's just like basic catching up. It's like we may do like 1 or 2 meaningful conversations, but hey, I get basically possibly get maybe a meaningful conversation every week or in multiple of them. And I really, that's really fulfilling to me. And I feel like if more people had that, it's like, I feel like more people will be happier.
Yeah. So yeah, like, I hope that gives maybe our audience like an idea of the motivations behind a lot of the things that we do. If you guys want to, you guys can feel free to read through this yourself. There's a ton of resources. Again, we try to be as open as we can in terms of like, our story, what we try to do in the world, what our differences, like how are we really putting into action like our unique advantage, like in this whole realm. I think we have a lot of really amazing talent in the community, and that's how we're able to, move forward on a lot of the initiatives that we want to do. But yeah, like, we try our best to build in public, and we hope that you recognize that and support that endeavors, because I think Coastry is yours, right? It's all of ours. It's our way of sharing a collective movement to really change the world for the positive. And I think the more that we can do to identify with the cause and go towards it and go together with it, the better we can do as individuals and as contributors to society. Because for me, like, I think one thing I've been very fascinated by always was, how do you find self-actualization, right? Once you meet all your basic needs, once you have your, individual families, like, how do you then contribute towards the world? How do you feel like you have found purpose and meaning? And my answer is always like, move towards, I love this philosopher and psychologist, I guess, Adler. He was one of the, if he's among, the psychologists that you might know already, like Freud and, etc. But he's one of the lesser known ones. But I think it's a shame because he has this wonderful idea, which is like, you find self-actualization through self-reliance, right? And also contribution to others. So it fits a lot of like the narratives of people saying like, hey, you can't really help others till you help yourself. But once you help yourself, how do you help others, right? So there's a lot of wonderful ideas there that I think I really embody and I really believe in. And I try to, expand on them as much as I can, every given day. So I think one thing that we're going to do to close off the stream is to share with you, the results of our governance conversations that we had together. And, we worked hard on this. I think it's quite beautiful in its simplicity as well as in its like efficiency. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but basically this is the idea of like our bare bones setup, right? Which offers decentralization, right, of power so that there's not just one person controlling the whole show. And also giving the opportunity for everyone to contribute in a way and eventually, find their own place within the community that makes sense for them, whether or not you're, someone that just wants to contribute on a weekly basis, whether you're someone that just wants to benefit from our systems, right? Someone that wants to, really play a meaningful, deep role in the community, someone that wants to be full-time in the community, right? Or someone that wants to just, lead the community in terms of direction. All the doors are open. And I want to make that clear is that there is no closed door for anybody. We're making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be part of this vision and be part of this amazing journey we're on and to shape this journey. I think I'm very flexible in that. It's like, the wind blows where the wind blows. We'll see, right? And we may not always have control, but you control what you do today. Hey, and what choice you're gonna make, right? So yeah, maybe we can take turns as presenting different parts of the structure. Again, it's super small for us. I apologize for our eyes, but maybe if we lead in enough, we'll see. Yeah, like, is there any part you want to touch on first, or we can just go chronologically? It's completely up to you.
Let me think about this for a second. Well, I guess, let's talk about the board a bit.
Yeah, so maybe, you can just talk a bit about the board. Like, what do you think the role of a board is? And maybe I'll just talk about, like, who do I think board members could be? Yeah.
Okay, well, if anything, like with nonprofits, one big thing that the board does is, like, they guide us. They give us direction. But we need to make sure that the right people are on that board if they're going to do that. So how do you think, or basically, how do you think we should fill that, essentially, based on this this chart?
Yeah. So, like, I think the hallmark, or maybe even the requirement's the wrong word. One of the key success factors that I've seen a lot of startups have is they have a really good support network that helps them, that mentors them, that guides them in their journey in doing whatever they need to do. Obviously, the team is still going to be the most knowledgeable in their craft. Like, that's no doubts. That's why they're the team and they're building the thing. But it's always important to have like a set of very experienced individuals come in and advise on different parts of the organization that helps really the organization run on its own, right? And run efficiently and smoothly like a well-oiled machine. So I've identified like at least 6 different key roles that are key verticals that would require some guidance, right, to be very successful. Like, we'd love to have a CEO of another nonprofit come on our board to help support, the president and see how, we can make everything more operationally inclined, right? The same thing with like a head of operations or CEO of another nonprofit. Again, these are things that personally I'm not familiar with running a nonprofit, right? This would be my first time. Or second time, I guess. I have helped in other nonprofits before, but there's a lot of complexities there that I think I could benefit from. A real mentor there, right? A fundraising expert for a nonprofit, someone that can really help understand like when finances come in, how do we keep them safe? How do we keep them locked down? How do we use them effectively and efficiently, right? Someone that is a very established writer or philosopher, like, someone like James Clear, for example, or Ryan Holiday, someone that just really knows how to like build up their knowledge and share it, I think is really important. Community builders, people that have already proven themselves to be great community builders. They inspire, they lead, they organize, people around them. People like Yes Theory, right? I think I really admire what they do in terms of their YouTube videos and in terms of how they inspire others to do and follow in their footsteps, right? And productivity experts, people that know how to take action, and who better than Tim Ferriss getting things done, right? So I think there's a lot of people that are on my list of people that I think I would love to learn from, and I think the best excuse, right, to get them to come and teach us something would be having a really organized structure in which they know that this is Coix3, this is what we do, what we care about, this is how you guys can help and be a part of this vision and be a part of this journey, which I think is very, very important. Yeah.
It is. And I guess, so this is why this is all like evolving still. Like, if anything, we should probably add another seat to that board, just so we have 7 people, so that allows for, because at the moment, it's like you can get like 3 votes, three votes.
There's no deadlock. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And again, my hope is that like eventually, like, there's a cycle, right? Like we constantly get new talents, we constantly get new ideas, and we keep evolving with the times. There should be something that lives way beyond us, right? We're the ones that, potentially had a part to play at the beginning of it, but there should be no end. So I think that's something like I very much believe in. Yeah, you can really continue.
I guess the next one I'll bring up is like the team members. I guess I'll focus on the, besides obviously like the president and the secretary, essentially like the I guess area to the right hand side, the treasurer, let's focus on the VP of X, like for the knowledge, community, and action. It's like we have various like endeavors, various road bosses, but the thing is that we have like these 3 hallmarks, like knowledge, community, and action. And the nice thing is, so this allows us to kind of like, I guess, instead of having like one VP over like a specific area, it's like in order to make sure that there's enough, let's say, people can focus on their, let's say, project or endeavor, it's gonna be great because like VP like the digital gardening endeavor, like VP of Macro Fun, I think it's gonna allow for a lot of like autonomy in terms of like they're the visionary, and also the thing is like they really want to make their product great and everything. And I feel like I'm really liking the system of like how that's broken down, and also how we're also like paying them based on the percentage of the revenue that they're bringing in. So that's, I would say, a very inventive system. Thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I think like my vision of what is a sustainable operation is something that doesn't constantly need injection of funds through grants or through fundraising. I think if something has product market fit, meaning that it's providing value to a certain set of customers, they're always going to be able to pay for it. And if they're willing to pay for it and able to pay for it, then you have revenue. And if you have revenue, then you should aim to have enough to cover expenses, right, of the base cost of your maintaining the servers, things like that, but also for additional work to be done to continuously improve the system that you have or improve the product that you have. So our idea with this is that we want eventually every single successful product that comes out of Coix3 to have its own project owner, right? The person who progenited the idea, or a set of people who progenited the idea, and for them to, one is reap the benefits of creating this, because again, as Coix3, we want to just be the accelerator and the support system for you to be able to create the thing of your dreams, right? And ultimately, you should really be benefiting from the thing of your dreams. But we want to make sure that, through getting the support of the community, you're able to then contribute to community in a meaningful way, and also be able to be rewarded for that contribution, right? I think something very important for us to note here is that, with all these different project owners, they're getting not only the benefit of all the things that we talked about for any creative joining the project, joining the community, but also the mentorship, right, from the board of directors that are going to come in and help really shape your vision. And we hope that with this, we're slowly encouraging more and more people to really find their passion and pursue it and make it their full-time thing. Because the idea is that like once you're able to really like find a way to grow and monetize your ideas, like what's stopping you from making that like your full-time passion, right? And make that really the thing that you wake up every day in the morning to do. I think that for me, that's something that I can speak deeply on, is that, I wish I had a lot of different support systems when I first started my business. I wish I had all these things that we're now building together for people like me in the past. And I think one of my goals throughout all this, every time I build anything for CoreX3 or anytime I think about anything for CoreX3, is I'm just building for the me of my past. Because that's the only person I have expertise on, honestly. I don't ever dare to assume I know how to build something for a demographic I don't know about, and I haven't been. I think it's a bit presumptuous of me, and I think it's always going to be tough to build for someone that is not you. At least that's the easiest way to start, in my opinion, when you're building products. So for me, like, for every demographic of our community, like from students, I was a student before. From creatives, I'm currently a creative still, right? And second winders, I have very close contact with people like my mom, right? And I think that just gives me the vantage point and the empathy, right, to really build something that serves, someone that I know could have used the same kind of set of tooling and support back in the day. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on anything I shared there?
No, I would say it's like all that makes sense. And like even with me, it's like I'm like I was all in the headspace of like hacking products together and so on and so forth. But the big thing is like mentorship, getting advice from the right people and everything. Like the board is going to be amazing for that. And also like in terms of just contributors, in terms of getting involved with the development of these products and everything like that. I feel like let's see a soup basically, but all the like ingredients of the soup is like helping for the result to just be this like delicious, like a delicious meal basically.
Amazing. I love it. Amazing. Good job. Amazing. Yeah. So like, maybe I'll just talk about the third bit then, right? Which is, I think every nonprofit generally has like a set of volunteer roles. I think for us, we're very unique because we don't think it will just be volunteers. We want to properly compensate our community and through life points, right? And the goal of life points is to get it to a point where like it's exchangeable for tools that will help you grow in your life journey, right? Different support that you need to like we talked about, like, creating like a package or a suite of things that would, as long as you're contributing to the community and, you're active, how do we help you in your growth journey, whatever it might be? And we're always open for more ideas of what that is, whether it be, more systems to help you, organize more parts of your life, seminars, webinars, events, matchmaking kind of sessions, anything. The sky's the limit really in terms of what we can possibly do for our community. But the idea is that the more you support the community, the more we can support you. We're really just building a collective together so that we can come together and, build something of value that we can all benefit from together. So we have some like general kind of structure for how we think people can, slowly get more and more responsibilities within the community. Again, it's all like optional, right? It just depends on how much you want the extra resources and how much you need them, and also how much fulfillment you get from being part of these projects. So I think everyone joins in as a adventurer. So basically, you're just a newbie, a follower, and over time, as you keep continuously contributing, demonstrating, the interpersonal skills, the connection with the community, you become veterans, right? Which are basically leaders in the community, where you are, helping, share about different initiatives that you really care about, and also guiding people into those initiatives that you care about. If you care a lot about community, well, guide people in the community, help them learn something new, help them with their challenges as well, right? Be a listening ear, be the person that helped you when you joined the community, right? If you care about, leading parties, right? Lead a party, help people be motivated to go and slay that world boss, or slay that dragon. So, and over time, as you continuously demonstrate your ability to lead, you can have the opportunity to become a moderator in a community. How do you help keep the community running in a reasonable, efficient way? How do you help project manage everything, right, within that domain? And I think we're not going to limit people on how many roles they can take on when they're in this like kind of supporting role. I think that there's given enough time and bandwidth, feel free to do anything you want. But I think the beautiful thing is that what we're planning to build is a mission board, right? That basically unlocks as you level up, through the different stages of progression in the community, and gives you opportunities to find more ways to be helpful if and so you choose, and also be rewarded all the same.
Oh, the last thing I'll add is in regards to life points system. It's like we've also discussed like having like a bazaar where people like in the community can offer services to other people in the community and like be able to trade life points that way. I guess obviously in service of some task, what have you, but also be able to cash out as well. So it's like basically besides I guess templates or things from like organizational patrons or all the things that you talked about, essentially, there's gonna be plenty of things people will be able to do with their life points and just be able to just contribute, earn, there we go.
Yeah. So I think like overall, there's a lot of amazing things that are coming out for the community. I'm really excited and happy to be part of this journey, and appreciative that I get to be part of this journey, and thanks in part to you guys, right? And I think the support for our community has really been overwhelming since the beginning. And that's what really been motivating me, that, we're on the right track about something here. And I think, our humble community of co-creators and collaborators is just going to keep growing and growing. We have so many amazing initiatives happening. Actually, tomorrow I'm going off to see another potential house for the Family Without Borders. We might be expanding to the US. Yay! So, I'm going to keep on building new cool things that I think will benefit, you guys. I hope you guys also find it within you to share more things that you think you might want to build and be part of that building process. And if you don't want to build, that's perfect. Collaborate, right? Be part of the collaboration process. Give new ideas, feedback on items, and at the very least, find ways to support where you think we need it the most. We appreciate any type of support, really, and I think you even being here and listening on this stream is amazing support in itself, right? It means that someone else out there cares about this initiative and is willing to spend time out their Friday night to listen to us talk about something on our Friday night. And I think this is what makes life worth living, right? You find all these amazing opportunities to be helpful to your fellow man, and I just think it's amazing. And I really think, like, even within the community, we have such amazing people. Like, we have people that, and I think you're right, Josh, when you mentioned before, like, from all over the world and from very many different genders. I think, I think we're one of the only communities I've seen that has like an even split of male and female. I don't know if you realize that. We actually have, like, in our community meetings, we generally have an even split of female and male participants, sometimes even more females.
I think I've realized that. Yeah, you have a good point.
Yeah. So like, I think we're slowly breaking down like a lot of the assumptions people might have about like what a productivity community means, right? And that's because we're more than that. We're really like a community that aims to self-actualize through contribution and through positive change in the world. And again, just very, very appreciative and positive about what's to come. I think we have a roadmap in like a high-level roadmap of some things to come. Maybe if you want to roll over some of the items, don't hold us to that, right? But we hope that throughout this journey, we'll continue to get more support. And I think our timeline may move up sooner rather than later. So, but that's a hope that we have.
You mean like the raids for like next year?
Yeah. Let's
Okay,
talk about that.
so yeah, it's a tentative schedule, but like, because the main thing is like with these like template updates and everything, that's a quarterly thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it makes sense for there to be a raid for each of those updates and everything. So, like what I'm thinking is like, so Q1 is like do the Q1 template updates, and that's when we can focus on the putting the bylaws and the governance structure together and so on and so forth. Get that taken care of. Q2 again, that template update, but also work on the LifePoint drive system and like on the community hub, like an actual app and everything, and then hopefully see if we can finish up the governance structure stuff. Q3 was like template updates, also the Bazaar system that I brought up earlier, and also possibly finish the Digital Guardian Alpha, and then the last quarter, template updates, and then let me think. Oh, I guess start the development of the Digital Guardian beta, and see if there's anything else. But yeah, it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, sky's the limit, guys. And yeah, is there anything else that we want to talk about that you want to add to this conversation that you think I haven't discussed yet to everyone?
I'm saying it's a lot of stuff. I'm really excited about it. But besides that, I think we did a good job.
Yeah, I think we're right on time as well, like exactly around like an hour and 5. But yeah, thank you guys again for tuning in. I know you guys have been very active in the chat. I appreciate all the hearts. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us in the community. Again, I want to be clear, roles are open, opportunities are open. It's just a matter of stepping up and sharing about what you care about, and we will pave the way for you to do the rest. Thank you guys again so much. Thank you, Joshwin, for coming out to see me. I know you flew in all the way from Fresno.
Yep.
So thanks for doing that. And yeah, just excited. I'll be basically around North America for next month. So I'll be in your time zones for you guys tuning in from the US. And yeah, if there's an opportunity to do a meetup, you guys let me know. Maybe I'll make something happen. But other than that, please take care. Have a wonderful evening, and have a wonderful day. Please take care. Have a, yeah,